Well, my regular 19mm didn't work. Here is my electric impact, and that couldn't handle it. So I don't have air tools or pneumatic tools, so I had to buy this. This is a 19mm weighted socket. They say this provides like 3 times the amount of torque as a regular socket. So it basically gives more power to whatever tool you're attaching it to. So let's see if this guy can bust it loose. All right, guys, I finally got that pesky crank bolt off. It finally came off. There it is right there. So this is the setup that I had. I got this from AutoZone. This is a Acura Honda crank bolt or crank pulley holder attached to a 1/2-inch drive ratchet, and then there's my cheater bar right there. And then we tried with that originally on the bolt, the 19mm bolt. See, here's my actual breaker bar with some extensions and a deep socket 19mm. I had this on the crank pulley bolt, and it finally cracked with the breaker bar on it. It did not crack whenever we tried it reverse. This ratchet on the crank bolt did not work, so we switched it to where the ratchet was holding the holder, and then the breaker bar had the 19mm on it, and that finally cracked it loose. Man, that took some time. Before you start this job, just make sure that you can crack that bolt loose. Just try to wiggle this back and forth. See if we can get this thing off. Man, this thing is stuck on there. I see it millimeter by millimeter, it's coming off.
Daddy, I actually got it!
Success! Crank pulley and woodruff key are off. This is what we are left with. Alright, let's take off this lower timing belt cover. So it's held on by some 10mm. Alright guys, so I finally got this cover off right here. This is held in by 4 10mm fasteners. There's one there, on the side here, and then this one was hidden from me. There's one in there. This is what the fasteners look like right here. They're all the same, 10mm. So that lower cover is off now. So now we can actually see the full timing belt. Here is our tensioner, and here is our water pump. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is loosen up our tensioner right here. I believe that's a 14mm bolt, and then that will allow us to have some slack in the belt. And let's see, I probably should take this off first. Okay, so this is a little guide for the timing belt on the crank right there. That is the crank, you want to call that a pulley, I guess, the crank gear. This is the crank gear. So you really want to remember the orientation of these washers right here. It kind of is a little bit concave. You want the flatter side, this side, to go on towards the belt, because if you put it the other way around, then it may eat up the belt. So anyways, just remember that orientation. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this guy off and loosen up that 14mm. All right guys, another thing I wanna mention before taking off the timing belt. See that arrow on the oil pump? So you see this arrow right there is pointing on this dash on the crank gear. Those are lined up perfectly. So I know that my crank is at top dead center. And then if we take a look at these cam gears right here, dashes right here on each cam gear are facing each other. Also it says up right there, up right there. The gears are slightly tilted towards the left. And these lines right here should also be level with to the head of the cylinder head. So that's how you know that you're in top dead center. So just make sure that you're in top dead center before you take off this timing belt. All right, now let's go ahead and remove it. All right, wow. That is a long timing belt tensioner bolt right there. So we have that removed. Slide the belt off. The tensioner. There we go, we got it. Okay. Just gonna let that, we're just gonna let the tensioner hang by the spring for now. Just gonna take off the belt. Let's go up on top. Okay, let's go ahead and take it off from the top. This is why we had to remove that motor mount, so we can get it just like that. And there we go, here's our old belt. Man, I see no cracks at all. No cracking. Look at that Honda belt right there. Exact part number of which I'm replacing with. Man, this could have gone so much longer. I see maybe a tiny bit of wear right there. You can see a tiny, maybe the starting of a crack. It doesn't even look like a crack. Like, this belt looks like it could have like 2,000 miles on it. And it has about a little over 60,000 miles. And let's see, it was replaced in 2011, I believe. So this is 10 years old. This is quality right here. This is why you use Honda products, because this could go a lot longer, but you know, I'm here, so I'm gonna replace it again with a Honda belt. Quality products, always go OEM whenever you can. Anyways, tensioner is removed, belt is removed. So now, let's see about taking this gear off. Okay, yep, just, oh yeah, there we go. Just kind of wiggle it back and forth. It too can only go in one way. You can see right there the notch for where the Woodruff key goes as well. So it's kind of hard to get this off one-handed, but okay, there we go. Almost there. Oh, okay, there it is. Okay, so I'm going to put that to the side. We have another little kind of washer here. This just slides out. Again, these are kind of concave, so you either want to remember or mark the side that goes touching, you know, either the side that's touching the oil pump or the side that's touching the actual belt, because if you put this in backwards, it could ruin your belt. So let's see, this is the belt side. Yeah, it's really hard to pick up on camera, but there is just a ever so slightest just concave, and you want the flatter side, this side right here, touching the belt. So I'm gonna go ahead and just like put a blue paint pen mark on this just so I can remember, even though it is pretty much obvious just looking at it. Okay, so here we have the tensioner. You can see it is held on by a spring right here, just right up there. So that's just hanging there. So you're gonna wanna just undo that. Kind of lift it up and pull. Hangs just like that. Cool, this looks like this is the original, or at least OEM, because it says Japan Koyo. So that's pretty cool. Quality pieces, people. You want, again, you want to go with OEM. And then another thing you want to take note of at this point is your front main seal, or your crank seal. The seal right here on the oil pump. You want to make sure you don't have any oil dripping down here. Mine is perfect. It is not leaking at all. So if this is leaking, you definitely want to replace it. And if you're doing all this work, I would suggest replacing this anyway, because you're here. So, and again, my suggestion, always go OEM. HondaPartsNow.com is the parts I use, or Acura. I believe it's Acura OEM parts, or maybe it's OEM Acura. I think it's Acura OEM parts from Delray Acura. That's what I use. All right, guys, so looking from the top of the engine, this is our water pump right here. It is held in by a few fasteners, 10 millimeters, and before you do this job, I had already done it, but you want to drain the radiator all the way. And whenever you pop this off, chances are, even if you drain the radiator and all that, there's still going to be some coolant in there. So you definitely want to have a drain pan underneath your engine whenever you do this, underneath right here, because coolant will definitely come out. So I'm going to go ahead and undo the fasteners holding on this water pump, and we can continue. We got a leaker. I got it off. I had to tap it a few times with my hammer to break it loose. It was on there really good. So let's see if I can get it off now. Man, this is a really awkward position. Oh, plus it has dowel pins on there too. Yeah. Okay, there it is. Let me stick my hand in here. Okay. Look at this, guys. This is an OEM pump right here. The previous owners of my car took it to the Honda dealer for all the maintenance. So even though my car is in pieces right now because I'm, doing kind of a refresh rebuild, they always used Honda OEM parts, and my car is mint. But anyways, okay, I want to show you guys. This is a OEM Honda pump. Look at that, Yamada water pump. All right, guys, so it is time to replace the water pump, finally. So here is the new one. This is a OEM one. I would have gotten OEM, but they are discontinued in the 94 to 95. And another one probably could have worked, but this is what I went with. This is the brand right here, NPW, and this is made in Japan. So you can see it says which Hondas it's for right there. B18C right there. So this is supposed to be a good quality part. I've seen other people use these before. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this installed. It just has a total of 5 bolts. You want to take note of 2 of these bolts are longer than the others. So you definitely want to, put these back where you got them. So let's see, there's that one and that one. I believe those 2 are, yep, that's correct. So this one right here, and then this one up top here are the long ones. So longer bolts. So just take note of that. And by the way, these bolts get torqued down to 8.7 foot-pounds or 105 inch-pounds. All right. I already cleaned the surface, so it is ready to go. Cleaned it with a rag, and I sprayed a little bit of brake clean on it. And by the way, you do not use Honda Bond on this, or you do not use RTV. The water pumps come with a gasket, and this gasket, or this O-ring gasket, is all you need. So no need for RTV here. All right, guys, the water pump is in. Brand new water pump. So now what's next is this guy right here. Here's the part number. This is a OEM tensioner. Here's the old one versus the new one. As I said before in some of my other videos, my car has been well taken care of and always serviced at Honda with the owners before me. So these are exactly the same part, exactly. So time for a new one. Let's go ahead and put this on the car. I also have a new spring. Let's see here. Yes. So there's the part number right there, and I got a new spring to go on this tensioner as well. So this tensioner can only go on there one way, by the way, guys. This flat end here goes on a little post, and then the spring clips onto the tensioner right there. And let me show you where the other one goes. So the tensioner hooks onto this little rod right there, and then the tensioner's spring hooks on to that guy all the way up there. Then of course the tensioner goes here, and the tensioner bolt right there. And the tensioner is torqued down to 40 foot-pounds. Alright guys, so there you can see the spring connected to that part right there, and it's also looped onto the tensioner. And then if we go underneath the car, let's see right here. So right there, you can see it hooked onto that little rod or that tab right there onto the engine block. And I have not tightened or torqued down that bolt yet, because you're going to want to obviously set the tension whenever you have the belt on. And once the tension is set, that's whenever you torque it down to 40 foot-pounds. All right, guys, as you can see, I have the 2 cam seals on. So now we are going to move on to the crank. Adjust my light. So there's my new oil pump, and here is the end of the crankshaft. Now we need to put on our crank gear. So this is it right here. You can see there is the top dead center little dash on there, and then right here inside there, right there, that little bump, that is like the keyway for the gear right there. So we're going to go ahead and line this up like that, and you can see on the crank, see how it has that little notch right there? That little key in this gear goes right in that notch.